One thing that I love to see is traits from custom keyboards trickling their way down to more consumer mechs over time, and thus having a mixture of characteristics, and that's what I see in this keyboard. So today we check out the Akko 3068. Thanks to Banggood.com for providing this keyboard for review, but as always I'll provide my honest opinions. So I'm not exactly sure what the go is with Akko. They seem to be pretty closely tied with Ducky and are apparently their agents in China, even though Ducky is in Taiwan. So they have a bunch of different products doing a lot of keycap stuff and some pretty interesting boards, including this one. And what I was saying about its mixed characteristics. So this is how I've understood it. There's the Saber 68 and the Teardown 68, which was and still is a very popular beginner custom mechanical keyboard, and I still do believe the aluminium version is great value. And a bit later, the Teardown 64 Pro was released, which was a wireless version with a plastic case, and then the Akko name became attached to it at some point. And finally we have this, which disattaches it from the Teardown name. So it has the exact same 65% layout and form factor, and is one of the reasons why the Teardown has been so popular. Personally, 65% is the sweet spot for me, as it keeps that compact form factor, but has the dedicated arrow keys and some nav keys on the right hand side, with adding just the one column. So we still have the space saving benefits in giving our mouse more space on our desk, and ergonomically it allows for more natural shoulder and arm positioning. But yeah, I love me some dedicated arrow keys, and is one of the reasons why I don't particularly like 60% keyboards, and I feel many others are the same way. The one tiny disadvantage of such a layout is that if you want to replace the keycaps, you will need some 1U keys here and the typical 1.75U right shift key. But these are in most aftermarket key sets that are even worth replacing these, because these are pretty nice. They're dye sublimated PBT plastic, so they should be quite durable over time. And the extra light blue keycaps give the keyboard a bit of colour, which I welcome, but we also get the spare grey keycaps if you want to keep it more plain. The legends are clean and simple, but the black isn't that deep and it's somewhat light looking, which in my opinion makes it a bit less nice. And these are cherry profile, which is another fan favourite, being slightly shorter than the typical OEM caps and are just more comfortable in my opinion. The case is decent for a plastic case, the bezels are slim but cover the switches to give a high profile look, and it has a kind of sparkly finish to it. There is a slight natural inclination to the keyboard to give it some angle, and again it has a relatively simple aesthetic. On the rear we have a USB Type-C port, as of course you can use it in wireless mode, and on the bottom there's some rubber feet to keep it sturdy on your desk, but there are no flip-up feet, which is very common for boards of this size, so we're stuck at this angle. And we have our on and off switch for the wireless mode. And this is another example about mixing characteristics. Wireless mechanical keyboards aren't often seen in high-end boards, but is a feature that makes it more attractive to a wider audience. And it's super simple. We can switch between Bluetooth mode and wired mode with FN plus tab, and we have 3 different Bluetooth profiles in which we can store devices to. So as per usual, we turn Bluetooth on our device, select one of the 3 profiles and simply pair it. It houses a 1800 mAh lithium battery, and they state that it has a 120-hour battery life, which is super impressive and isn't something I've come across before, I think. I wasn't able to actually test that claim, but after about a week of on and off use in wireless mode, I didn't exhaust the battery. Also keep in mind that this doesn't have any backlighting, so I guess that helps as well. It's using Bluetooth 3.0 and the performance is decent. Each device varies, like usually my laptop isn't the most responsive with Bluetooth keyboards, but my phone is, and even on my phone I did feel some latency when I was just typing stuff. And it did slightly impact on what I was actually typing, which isn't normal for me with other wireless keyboards. So I'd say for gaming you're gonna want to stick to wired mode, And in my personal experience, the wireless is slightly below par, but your experience may vary. This is available in Cherry MX key switches. I got the browns, and yeah, I don't know why they labeled this as silent. I mean, of course compared to blues, they're not as loud, but they're still loud because of the top and bottom out. So as you can hear, there's nothing special about these browns. There's no silencing rings or dampening of any sort, so they're just normal switches. And that's not a bad thing or anything, I just want to make it clear that it isn't a silent keyboard like what it says on the box. Programmability is something that's important for smaller keyboards, as we are forced to use combos to access other keys. The manual is in Chinese and there wasn't a link in there, but it does mention macro stuff. I did go to the Akko Gear website, but unfortunately this keyboard isn't listed on the downloads page. I did do more research and it clearly states that this keyboard is programmable, but I just couldn't find this piece of software anywhere, so unfortunately I can't really comment on this, and I'm sure someone here will know what's up, so if you do, please do comment. To take it apart, there's a couple of Phillips head screws under some keycaps. The plastic enclosure is very simple, there's not much to it with just tap plastic for the standoffs and not a lot of reinforcement or ribbing to give it a bit more rigidity. Therefore there's a ton of empty space in here, so you could fill it up with foam or something to make it feel and sound a bit better. And yeah, even the battery, there's a heap of space for a bigger one. There's a 1.5mm thick steel plate which gives the keyboard most of its weight and rigidity. And the PCB is super clean and has a pleasant matte black solder mask, which you don't often see in pre-builds. If we look closer, there's actually spots for some LEDs, so why not just test it out. For each LED there's a positive symbol, which is the anode pin. So looking at this 1.8mm white LED, the longer pin is the positive, and yeah, you just stick it in and solder. And while it's all apart, let's give it a paint just because. Alright, so overall, this is a keyboard that has the cool 65% layout with solid die sub PBT keycaps. It has USB-C and overall has a decent build with the internal steel plate, but it's still a plastic enclosure, so it won't blow you away or anything. You can ignore the silent branding attached to it, it's just a normal mech, but what I find appealing is the price at about 80 bucks. I feel that for a starter mech, or just for someone that doesn't want to splash out the big bucks on one, this is a great choice. It kind of brings that somewhat niche vibe with it because of the layout and the keycaps, so that'll be quite foreign to a lot of people, but yeah, wireless. It actually has Bluetooth, which is something that a lot of other people seek. The TDAR68 plastic version still beats it if you want other key switches, which is completely fair enough, and it does come with nicer quality keycaps, but at the same time it is more expensive. So yeah, I think it fills a nice gap in the market as it kind of stands on its own, being a very fairly priced wireless 65% mech. And yeah, the blue paint didn't really match at all, and I thought the grey looked really good, but it still looks decent, so let me know what you think. Thanks again to Banggood.com for providing this keyboard for review and for their continued support. I'll leave links in the description if you want to check it out.